Hey there, my name's Nikki and I'm 29 years old. The story I want to tell you about today is about my nightmare of a mother-in-law who got served by karma in the worst way possible. But of course, that serving did not come without a lot of hurt and anger. I met my husband Peter through a work friend. Peter had been her best friend, and she told me he was single, and I thought, why not? Peter and I went on our very first date to this fine dining restaurant, and it was pretty much love at first sight for both of us. Peter is a very attractive man, and what made it better was his sense of humor. We clicked so well that we only had one more date after our first one before we made our relationship official. We moved in together after about a year of dating, and our relationship only bloomed some more. While I was beyond happy with the way that my life was going, I also knew that since our relationship was getting serious, I needed to meet his family. And so we arranged for that, and I had a great time with his family. His parents were very hospitable and just overall nice to me. I did feel an odd vibe from his mother, Sandra, but every time I felt like she was being a little off, Peter's dad, Mike, would step in and steer the conversation another way. Now, I do tend to be very observative, and I also love overthinking. Even though I found Sandra's behavior odd and felt like she did not like me, I put that thought aside. I didn't even tell Peter about it because I didn't want him to force a confrontation with his mother, only to find nothing was actually wrong, and which could potentially lead to her actually hating me. The point is, I overthought the entire experience enough to force myself to just forget about it. After that, I would go over to Peter's place once a month with him for family dinners. Sandra still behaved a little distant with me, especially considering how Mike warmed up to me really fast and considered me to be a part of the family already. I just figured that Sandra needed some time to warm up to me. If Peter noticed any difference in his mom's attitude to me, he never really said anything. That was how it was for the next 3 years, but by that point, I kind of got used to Sandra not being all chummy with me. On the anniversary of our first date, Peter took me to the same fine dining restaurant we had gone to and proposed to me. It was such an emotional moment for the both of us, and I was genuinely over the moon that I was getting to marry Peter. Peter and I decided to tell his parents first, so we invited them to lunch with us a few days after we got engaged. Unfortunately, Mike was away on some business trip, and as much as we wanted him to be there for the announcement, we also couldn't keep it to ourselves. So only Sandra joined us for that lunch. When she arrived, Peter greeted her first. "Hi, Mom, how are you?" "Oh, sweetie, I'm doing good. What's this all about?" "Well, we have some pretty big news to give you." "What is it?" "Nikki and I are engaged. We're planning on getting married within the next 6 to 7 months." "What? When did this happen?" "Well, it happened this past weekend." Peter booked us a table at my favorite fine dining restaurant where he got on one knee and proposed. It was really so romantic. "Ugh, congratulations, I guess." "You guess? What's wrong? Are you not happy for us?" "Why would I be?" Because I'm starting a new chapter of my life." "Why would I be happy when you're starting it with her?" "What do you mean?" "Look, I was tolerant when you were dating Nikki because I just thought that this was going to be another insignificant relationship in your life. But getting married to her, just no." "I'm sorry, but do you not like me?" "Am I not being clear? I absolutely do not like you." "But why? Have I ever done something to make you not like me? Did I say something wrong?" "No, but you're just not perfect for my son." "What does that even mean?" "Oh, come on now, Peter. You're a handsome man and Nikki is average. She's not beautiful, and from what I've seen, she doesn't have a lot of talent or skills. I think you could do so much better than just settling for her. You're still young. You should put yourself out there some more. Okay, first of all, you're being beyond rude to me and to Nikki. Secondly, I don't care about what you think is best for me. I know what I'm doing, and I know what Nikki is really like. She's the only woman in the world for me. And if you don't get on board with that, you don't have to attend our wedding. You can't do that. Yes, I can. I expect an apology for Nikki for everything you said. Why do I have to apologize when all I did was speak the truth? Fine. Until you apologize, you are not invited to the wedding. Peter grabbed my hand and we stormed out of the restaurant. I tried to get him to go back to Sandra and talk it out with her, but Peter refused. He told me that he would not let anyone talk down to me. It didn't matter if it was his mother who did it or if it was the president. If she could not respect me, then he didn't have to respect her. Now, I had my own reservations about that thought process, but I figured that it wasn't my relationship to butt into. So I let Peter do whatever he thought was right. Sandra never reached out to either of us for the next 7 months. Peter had her blocked everywhere because he didn't want to talk to her until she apologized to me. I could tell that Peter was hurt by his mother's lack of care about his wedding, so I tried my best to cheer him up by letting him join me to see all the wedding preparations, only so he could envision what the best day of his life was going to look like. Just a month before our wedding, Sandra called me. I will admit that I almost dropped my phone when I saw her caller ID because I really did not expect a call from her, but I played it cool when I picked the call up. Hi, Sandra? Hello, how are you doing and how's my son? Well, I'm doing good and so is Peter. We are really busy with wedding preparations, so if you want to talk to him. No, I want to talk to you. To me? About what? Don't make this harder than it already is for me. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to be a bit more specific about what this phone call is about. Okay, fine. I just wanted to apologize for what I said last time we met. Oh, well, I don't know what I did or did not do to impress you, but you should know that I love Peter with everything in me. I highly doubt that. I mean, my bad. I'm sorry. I just really disliked you for so long, and it's hard to let go of that dislike. I get it. You're overprotective of Peter. I'm that way with him too. I mean, even if you don't like me, at least you know that I only have his best interests at heart. Yeah, well, I almost contemplated not coming to his wedding because I wanted him to learn a lesson and probably rethink his decision to marry you. Huh? Okay. But the more I thought about it and the more I spoke to Mike about it, the more I realized that I was kind of being a jerk. Well, I'm glad you realized that. Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't have to miss all my son's important moments just because I don't like you. If anything, that makes me a horrible person. Well, I'm sure that Peter will appreciate the apology. At least be nicer to him when you apologize to him. Of course, he's my son. I see no reason to cry and beg for forgiveness from you. All right then, if this apology of yours is done, I have things to do. Yeah, I'm done. Goodbye. While I was surprised that Sandra called, I was not surprised that her apology was very insincere. I knew how important the day of the wedding was, and I knew that Peter would be sad if both his parents weren't there on that day, so I kept my mouth shut about what was a part of Sandra's apology. I only told Peter that she had called and apologized, which led to him finally unblocking her and talking to her. They patched up just in time for the day of our wedding, and because of that, both Peter and I had a blast at our wedding. I was worried that Sandra would try to sabotage the wedding or that she would say something against me, but thankfully, she didn't. After the wedding, however, Sandra did not really speak to me, which I did not mind at all. Peter and I didn't plan on having kids, although we were not opposed to the idea of having them. We were just waiting for the right time. But before we could decide what the right time was for us, the universe did it for us. After a year of being married, I found out I was 2 months pregnant. Peter and I were overjoyed about it and decided to wait until I was done with my first trimester to announce the pregnancy to our families. When the time came to announce the pregnancy, we invited all of our closest friends and family for a backyard barbecue party. Everyone was very happy and excited for us when they found out, all except Sandra. She cornered me at the party and forced me into a conversation with her, even though I tried my best to avoid her all day. "So, you're pregnant now?" Yeah, that kind of was the big announcement of today's dinner. "Don't try to be smart with me, Nikki." "I'm not. I'm just being cautious because, you don't like me and have always tried to put me down in some way or another. Which is something that you absolutely deserve. I know that getting pregnant was only a part of your strategy." "Strategy? What are you talking about?" "I was on my phone the other day and happened to come across this word, baby trapping, where people either impregnate or get pregnant in order to keep their partner with them." "Are you accusing me of baby trapping my husband? You do realize that's insane, right?" "Why is it insane? It's only been a year into your marriage and you're already pregnant. You must have only done it to keep Peter around because he must have begun to realize that marrying you was a bad idea." "That's not true at all, Sandra. I know you hate me, but you need to stop projecting your stupid ideas onto my relationship with Peter." "No need to get so aggressive. Although this aggression could be because you've been caught and you're just trying to cover it up. You need serious help. You can't possibly think that what you're saying is true. So, who's the father? I bet you cheated on Peter." "Excuse me? How dare you? I've tolerated a lot from you, but this is where I draw the line." Whoa, what's going on here? "Sandra accused me of cheating on Peter and baby trapping him to keep him around." "Sandra, you need to apologize right now." "I see no reason to apologize. She's clearly deflecting, and I know that it's because I'm right. You need to leave right now. I will not tolerate these accusations." "We'll get going. Nikki, so sorry that Sandra said all this. I'll talk to her about it." "Oh, you don't have to leave, Mike. I only want Sandra gone." "I know. I think it'll be best if I go now, though, so I can talk some sense into Sandra." "All right, then. Take care. I'm sorry that you have to leave so early." "No, I'm sorry that Sandra said such mean things." I was angry that Mike had to suffer because of what Sandra said. Peter was also upset with the things that his mother said, but didn't say a word to her because I asked him not to. I didn't want to deal with any more stress and risk my baby's health, so Peter and I decided to go low contact with Sandra for a while. That was until Peter and I had a gender reveal party where we invited her out of obligation. Mike made sure to keep her away from me at all times, and that only made the event a little better for me. Peter and I found out that we were going to have a baby girl, and we were super happy about it. At some point during the party, though, Sandra managed to escape Mike's hold, and she found me again. "So, have you given thought to what I said last time?" "You mean about you accusing me of cheating on my husband?" "No, I most definitely have not." "Why? Because you don't want to feel guilty?" "No, because I have no reason to think about it. I haven't cheated on Peter, and in fact, the thought has never even crossed my mind." "That's a bold-faced lie, and you know it. You're just a disgusting creature that latched onto my son, so you could get his money." You keep this language up, and I'm going to leave. I'm sure Mike would love to hear why you upset me again. Oh, please, Mike just can't see the truth that's in front of him. Or maybe he does see it, and he just can't accept it. I really don't want to talk to you right now. I'm going to go find myself something to eat and stay as far away from you as possible. No, you will not. What are you doing? Stop grabbing onto my arm that way. It hurts. You will listen to me right now. You are going to get a paternity test done on that baby and prove to everyone that the baby you're carrying inside you is not my son's. I'm not doing a paternity test because I know that the baby is Peter's. Oh, speaking of who, there he is. Peter, could you come here? Hey, what's going on here? Your mom's grabbing onto my arm and threatening me to take a paternity test because she doesn't believe that the baby is yours. Mom, are you insane? Let go of Nikki. You're going to hurt her. She has absolutely no reason to take that test. You better drop it or you will not get to see your grandson, ever. Why are you against getting a paternity test anyway? Don't you want to know if the baby is yours or not? I don't need a test to confirm that for me. Clearly she's brainwashed you real good if she doesn't take that test. I'm going to use all my social media accounts to tell everybody that she cheated on you. That's insane. What's wrong with you? I'm only doing what's best for Peter. What's best for me or for you? Get over yourself. We're leaving. Sandra did not stop harassing me by text and call, even after Peter told her to leave me alone. She kept telling me that I needed to get that paternity test done and even went as far as to send me a screenshot of the social media post that she intended to make, slandering my name if I didn't take the paternity test on my baby. Even though I didn't care about what she thought, I kind of wanted to rub her ignorance in her face. So after I gave birth to my beautiful daughter, I immediately had a paternity test done and a DNA test done. The results took a few weeks to come, and what I saw shocked me. So I had another DNA test done just to confirm the results of the other two, and their results matched them. I knew that the news was going to be big, and as much as I wanted to confront each of them individually, I knew it wouldn't be fair to Mike or Peter, so I had Peter's parents come over to our place and sat all three of them down to reveal the test results. I call both of you over here because I have the results of the paternity test that I took on our baby. Ha! Am I right? Well, you were right about cheating for sure. What? What are you talking about? I knew it! I told you that she was the scum of the earth. I'm never wrong. And now all of you have to apologize for treating me like I was some crazy woman. Hold your horses, Sandra. My baby is 100% Peter's. Okay, then what's all this about cheating? So I did a quick DNA match and I found out something very interesting. You see, our child's DNA matches exactly with Sandra and Peter, but not with Mike. I don't get it. What are you trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that, okay, that's enough now. No, let her speak. I feel like she's going to confirm something big that I've been thinking about for decades now. Peter, Mike, I'm so sorry that this is how you're finding this out, but Mike, you are not Peter's father. What? I knew it. I just knew it. Mom, is Nikki telling me the truth? I don't know what she's talking about. She's clearly deflecting. She made up those reports. I knew you would not admit it right away, so I took the test from multiple sources, and all of them confirmed the same thing. Is this your way of getting back at me for accusing you of cheating? I was only trying to make sure that my son was with an honest woman. There's no need to make up lies and ruin my life. All right, then why don't Mike and Peter take a DNA test to see if my reports are false? That's nonsense. There's no need for that. That's madness. Peter, if you're okay with it, I would like to have that DNA test done. I'm more than okay with that, Dad. If you take that DNA test, I will never speak to either of you. I don't see why you're being so defensive about it if you have nothing to hide. It's not about hiding something. It's about trust. Neither of you trust me, and that's what hurts. Right, and forcing me to take a paternity test was not at all hurtful? Whatever. I'm going home. You two cannot possibly believe this insane woman. I mean, be rational. She just gave birth, and her hormones are probably making her crazy. Wow, you really stop at nothing to hurt me, huh? I think it really is time that Sandra and I go home. Take care of you two. Good night. Mike got up to leave and Sandra followed him. She looked red in the face and left only after shooting me a mean glare, but I couldn't focus on that. My main focus was on Peter, who looked like he was in a trance. I knew that his entire world had just been turned upside down, so I knew that I needed to be there with him. I just sat with him for a while before he finally broke down and cried. He couldn't believe the fate he had. He cried for a good long while, and my heart broke for him. He did not deserve to be this hurt, and honestly, he did not deserve to be lied to for so long. Eventually, Peter calmed down and managed to fall asleep. The next day, Peter was just a shell of his normal self, and I really just wanted to reach out to him and fix him. But I knew that he needed to process this new information in his own way. A week after the announcement, Peter started to feel better, but that was when Mike called him and asked him if he'd like to do the DNA test then. Peter was in the right headspace, so he agreed to it. They paid for express results, and within a few days they got it. Mike was not Peter's father. It should not have surprised us, because we already knew that I was not lying with the DNA test that I had done. But seeing it once again felt like adding salt to a wound. Mike and Peter ended up spending a lot of time at our place just crying and talking about how they felt. Mike assured Peter that he would always be his son regardless of the biological aspect. I knew that those words comforted Peter a lot. I knew that was one of his biggest fears, that Mike would cut all contact with him for his mother's crime. But once that fear was eased, Peter finally felt anger towards his mother. He asked Mike what he planned to do, and Mike told us that he was going to divorce Sandra. So we helped him find the best divorce lawyer that we could and got the filing process started. In the meantime, Mike also went back to his place and managed to get a confession out of Sandra. Sandra tried to deflect from the truth again, but eventually confessed that Peter was the son of one of her closest friends growing up. This friend lived across the country, and when he had come to town, Sandra met him and ended up doing more than just meeting him. All of this happened a year into her marriage with Mike. Mike was beyond devastated and came over to our place to stay with us until he got his emotions and thoughts in check. Of course, we welcomed him with open arms, and we spent a lot of nights just talking about everything. It made me irrationally angry to see Mike so hurt, because he truly was a good man, and he didn't deserve an ounce of what Sandra did to him. I knew exactly when Sandra got served with the divorce papers, because she called me for the first time since Mike came over. Hello? I don't want your hello. Give the phone to Mike right now. He doesn't want to talk to you, Sandra. Give him some space and time. It's the least you could do after all your lies. You don't get to tell me what to do and what not to do. You ruined my life. I don't want to get divorced, and it's all because of you that this is happening to me. You shouldn't be blaming me for what you did. I made a mistake, but you didn't have to bring it out to light. You could have just quietly told us that your child was Peter's and kept the other part to yourself. Why would I do that? I don't want to be a part of your lies. I would not be any different from you if I did that. Besides, the irony of you calling me the scum of the earth when you thought I cheated is funny now in hindsight. If I didn't say anything, I'd be just that. You are not any better than me. I just know it. Look, you can whine all you want, but you still have to face the consequences of your actions. I got away with it for so long until you came along. I should have tried harder to get Peter to let you go. It's sad that you feel no remorse for your actions, but only for you getting caught. You have no idea how you've devastated both Mike and Peter. You need to stop thinking about yourself for one moment and let the two of them just process the lies. There's no need for all that. If they just listened to me instead of you, they would be completely fine right now. Why would they believe what you have to say now when you've lied to them for 30 years? Why would they believe the words of a woman who's only been in their lives for less than 5 years? They're such fools. Okay, that's enough. You've done enough to hurt them, and I will not let you hurt them anymore. Stop calling them and stop calling me. If you really want to talk to Mike, you can talk to him through his lawyer. No, don't hang up. Let me talk to them. Let me at least say sorry. Bye, Sandra. The absolute nerve that Sandra had to still insult me, and her husband and son too, was astounding. I was fuming with rage after that call. I almost did not want to tell Peter and Mike, but I knew that wouldn't be the right thing to do. The two of them also got really mad when I told them about the phone call. Peter almost walked out of the house to go meet Sandra and give her a piece of his mind, but Mike and I convinced him not to. Sandra was beyond any rational thought. She only saw herself and her benefits. No matter what Peter would say, in Sandra's eyes, she would always be the victim. Instead, we focused our energies on helping Mike with the divorce. We made sure to get as much as we could out of the divorce. Thankfully, Mike had kept a good portion of his assets in his name, and Sandra had no links to any of them. For starters, the house would be his because he was the one that paid for it, paid the mortgage and all the upkeep, and it was only his name on the deed and title. Sandra was going to have to find a place of her own. On top of that, Mike made the smart decision to withdraw all of his contributions to their joint account. So all that was left there was her money, which was not really a lot. He also went to the bank and quietly had his name removed from the bank, which, given his credit and good name at the bank, was a lot easier than I expected. The only thing that was remaining to split was all the furniture within the house, most of which belonged to Sandra anyways. The divorce trial went on for a good few months because Sandra fought tooth and nail for every single thing down to the very forks and spoons that they had owned. She also tried to fight for alimony, but after Mike showed the court that Sandra had lied and that he had inadvertently paid for and raised a child that wasn't biologically his, he had no reason to pay her any more support. The judge agreed with Mike and Sandra was denied alimony. Once the divorce was finalized, Sandra did take to her Facebook page to rant about how I had ruined her life and how I was the reason for her divorce. I honestly found it amusing until Sandra began to come to my house and bang at my door like a lunatic. She apparently wanted to talk to me, but the way in which she banged at my door and screamed for me to come out made me think that she wanted to do more than just talk. Peter and I got the police involved and Sandra got arrested for trespassing. That didn't stop her from harassing Peter and I over text, though. Eventually, Peter and I decided to get a restraining order against her, not only to protect ourselves, but also our child. It's been almost a year since all of this went down, and my gosh, what a year it's been. Peter and Mike began to see a therapist and went to a few family counseling sessions together. Even though Peter is not biologically Mike's, Mike has never once made Peter feel that way since we found out about it, which has really helped Peter deal with everything. Peter has made the decision to never track down his biological father, and that's a decision that Mike was grateful for. It's going to be a long road ahead for life to get better, but at least I've got my family to stand by me through it all, and what more could I ask for? Thank you so much for listening to my story. Hello, my name is Celeste and I'm a 28-year-old divorcee. Today I want to tell you all about how I came to become a divorcee. I'm going to try to keep this as light-hearted as possible, only because I want to show you just how goofy my ex-husband was, and because I don't really want to relive the pain that I had gone through. Let me begin by introducing you to my ex-husband, Sam. Sam and I met through a dating app. I was only there because I was bored, and I didn't actually think that it would lead to anything, but Sam and I just clicked in a way that I never did with anyone else. Our relationship progressed pretty quickly. We moved in together after 1.5 years of dating, and I only felt like that strengthened our relationship. Our relationship continued to blossom after we moved in. About 2 years later, Sam took me to the same cafe that we had our first date at and proposed to me. I was so overwhelmed with joy when I said yes that I started sobbing. I'm only speaking of this so positively because I still hold this memory close. While my relationship with Sam is over, it was still a big portion of my life, and he did hold a special place in my heart. Anyway, the two of us had a big wedding where we invited all of our close friends and family. We had the time of our lives, and we were beyond happy that we were legally married. Immediately after we got married, Sam asked me if we could start trying to have kids. Now, I didn't really think about having kids because I never thought that I'd get to a point in my life where I would be able to do that. But against all my expectations, I managed to have a stable job, a good amount of savings, and a happy, loving marriage. So I told Sam that I was down to try to have kids. We started trying immediately. It was a rough few months initially because we kept waiting for one of the months to give us a positive pregnancy test, but it didn't happen. It began to affect Sam and I's relationship. We began to drift apart because of the disappointment that we felt. I tried my best to hold Sam close to me, and I now realize that if I hadn't tried so hard, the relationship would have probably ended right then, and I would have been spared all the heartbreak. Finally, after 8 months of trying, I got pregnant. I found out I was pregnant only when the first time in my life I missed my period, and a drugstore pregnancy test told me I was pregnant. But I didn't entirely trust the store-bought pregnancy test, so I booked an appointment with the doctor to get my blood tested to confirm the pregnancy. I didn't tell Sam anything because I didn't want to raise his hopes, because if I was not pregnant, I was sure that it would absolutely destroy us. But the blood tests also confirmed that I was pregnant, and I was over the moon. I took the rest of the day off and went back home to cook Sam and me a large dinner consisting of all of Sam's favorite foods. When he finally came back home, Sam looked surprised when he saw the dinner spread. So, I have some big news for you. Whoa, are we celebrating something? What's with the huge feast? Oh, we definitely are celebrating something. Hold on. You forgot the wine. I'll grab it. I'm afraid that I can't drink wine. That's why I didn't keep it out. What? Why can't you drink wine? It's because I'm pregnant. What? Really? When did you find out? I only found out the day before yesterday because I took a pregnancy test, but I really wanted to confirm it, so I went to the doctor for blood tests and they confirmed that I was pregnant. Oh my God, that's wonderful! Oh, I'm so happy. Me too. But I do have to say that the doctor told me that my pregnancy might be high risk. What do you mean? It's just that there may be complications with the pregnancy, and if not that, then the birth because of my health and genetics. Oh, is there anything that we need to do about that? No, the doctor just told me to take it easy and eat well. That will not be a problem at all. I'm so excited for us. I cannot even begin to tell you about how excited I am to find out whether we're going to have a boy or a girl. Hey, as long as it's our child, I'm going to love it no matter what. Yeah, it's going to be a long and tiring few months. Are you ready to deal with it all? Absolutely, babe. There's no one else in the entire world that I'd rather be next to than you. We're going to get through this together, and when our little bundle of joy is out, we're going to look back on our hard days and have a nice laugh at it. I really hope that things work out that way. You know, it's not uncommon for the women in my family to go through miscarriages. Hey, no negative talk. We're going to do everything possible to keep you healthy and safe. We'll do our best to prevent that. You need to avoid all stress, and that begins with not thinking about your family history. How about instead we focus on the lovely dinner that you painstakingly prepared for us, huh? My pregnancy started off pretty rough. I was constantly sick and I was in immense amounts of pain. The pain got so bad that Sam and I decided that it would be best for me to quit my job. Besides, we always wanted one of us to stay back home to look after our child. We didn't want both of us to be working because we didn't want our child to feel neglected. Anyway, Sam was an angel to me during the entire pregnancy. He made sure to do all the research he could and provided me with the most nutritious meals. He made sure I was as comfortable as I could be, and his help was the only reason that my pregnancy lasted as long as it did. 5 months into my pregnancy, I woke up in the morning to find my sheets soaked in blood. Sam and I freaked out. I remember my ears ringing and my heart racing as I saw all that blood poured around me. We quickly made it to the hospital, only for the doctor to tell me that I miscarried. I was devastated. I could barely breathe. I felt like my life came to an absolute standstill. I didn't pay attention to how Sam was feeling because I was still reeling from the shock. I spent the next 2 weeks mostly laying in bed and just sobbing my eyes out. Sam and I never spoke the entire time except for small things like asking to pass something over, just inconsequential things. One night, I picked up Sam's phone to order some dinner for us when he got a message from his coworker that said, "I had a great time with you last weekend." Once again, I felt like my heart was shattering. I went through the text thread and saw that the woman was Sam's co-worker and the two of them slept together the previous weekend. They began talking just 2 days after my miscarriage, and their messages were entirely flirty and dirty. I don't think I processed any of what I saw that night, so I just put his phone down and went to bed without eating. The next day, while Sam was at work, I sat down with my feelings and finally thought about what I had found out the previous night. I decided that I needed to talk to Sam about it before I let my emotions get the best of me. So when he got back home from work, I told him that we needed to talk. "We need to talk." "Can we do this another time? I really don't have the energy to have a conversation. I just want to eat my dinner and go to bed." "We can't do this another time. Do you mind explaining why I found explicit pictures on your phone of another woman?" "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb right now. You know exactly what I'm talking about." "You went snooping through my phone?" "First of all, I was trying to order food for us when this woman sent you these explicit pictures. Secondly, stop trying to change the topic and answer my question right now." "It's nothing. It's just a coworker who's into me and she won't take no for an answer." "Cut the lies, Sam." "I'm not lying." "Then why did she say that she had a good time with you last weekend? Why did she tell you that she Venmo'd you her share of the hotel expenses? Why did you scroll through our chats?" "So you did cheat on me. Why? Why would you do that to me when I'm at my lowest? As if losing my baby was not enough, I also have to deal with losing my relationship." "Babe, it was a mistake, I swear." "Cheating is never a mistake. It's a choice. And you chose to cheat on me 2 weeks after I miscarried our child. Do you realize how devastating that is?" "I couldn't help it, okay? I was also dealing with my own grief and I messed up. Please don't leave me. I promise that I'll make things better." "I really don't think that you'll be able to make things better. I don't even want to see your face anymore." "You can take all the time you want to process all of this. Just know that I messed up and I really do feel sorry for it." The guilt of what I did has been eating away at me like crazy. Then why didn't you tell me? Why did I have to find out this way? I didn't know how to approach you. I'm a coward. I'm so sorry. You're right. You're the biggest coward I've met, and I want nothing to do with you. Please don't say that. I'll do whatever it takes to make you happy again. I promise I won't ever do this again. Please, just give me one more chance. I really don't want to look at you right now. I'm going to bed, and we'll figure this whole thing out later or something. I was beyond hurt. My mind felt like it was submerged in water. I felt like I couldn't breathe. When I lay in bed, I think I cried a little too hard because I woke up the next morning with a blinding headache. I had locked the bedroom door behind me when I came in the night before, so Sam was not in the room at all. I gathered all my courage and walked out of the bedroom only to be greeted by an empty house. I was relieved and heartbroken at the same time. I was relieved that I didn't have to see Sam's face because I wasn't sure that I would be able to do that without breaking down or yelling at him. I was also heartbroken because I kind of hoped that Sam would at least do something to show me that he was trying to make amends. Don't get me wrong. I didn't think that there was any coming back from Sam's affair. It's just that he made such a big fuss about trying for me again, and just a few hours after his affair was exposed, he didn't even say anything to me. Not even a note or anything. I feel like that should have been another signal to me that Sam was not ever going to be sincere. I spent the rest of the day moping around and just spontaneously crying. When it came time for Sam to return back from work, I took my dinner to the bedroom and locked myself in there. I kept all of Sam's things in the spare bedroom to show him just how much I didn't want to do anything with him. But after that day, things started to get better, and by that, I mean that Sam actually began to try to make it up to me. He wrote me a letter which he slipped under my door explaining that he had been struggling to come to terms with what he had done, which is why he left me alone entirely the previous day. While it still seemed like a pathetic excuse to me, I still let it slide. At the end of the day, I still didn't want to see his face. Over the next month, Sam would write me notes every single day and would prepare all our meals so I wouldn't have to worry about anything. It made me feel a little better, but it still didn't take away the raw hurt that I felt from two of the most devastating things that happened back to back. The pain got to a point where I reached out to my family and told them about what had happened, and they helped me get in touch with a good divorce lawyer, and I started the filing process. I had the papers ready with me, but I didn't give them to Sam because, I don't know, I guess a part of me still hoped that things would change eventually, but I was a fool. Exactly 1 month after I found out about Sam's affair, Sam sat me down to tell me something. I have something I need to tell you. Yeah? What is it? I know that I've been trying my best to make it up to you ever since I cheated, but I'm afraid that I'm going to have to stop doing that. What? What do you mean? My coworker told me today that she's pregnant. What? And as much as I would have loved to believe that I felt bad for ruining our marriage, I really do not feel that way. Oh. I've already filed for divorce and I'll leave this house in a week or so. So that's just it then. 5 years of being together just thrown down the drain for some one-night stand that you knocked up. There's no need to lash out, Celeste. Why? Why is there no need to lash out? You ruined the one thing that I was happiest about. When I needed you the most, you let me down, and now you're doing it again. I cannot believe you. What about the fact that I needed you too? You were not the only one experiencing that tragedy. All you ever did was mope and cry. Did you once think about me? I'm sorry. Was your body making the baby? Do you even know how traumatic that was? My entire body had to get used to not carrying a baby out of the blue. Aside from that, the mental impact of losing my child was even worse. I knew you were struggling too, but I really couldn't pull myself out of that depression. You should have been my shoulder to lean on. There you go again with your selfishness. Everything needs to be about you. It does not. I chose to go to therapy to deal with the loss. I told you to do it too because of your crappy behavior. And don't you dare call me selfish when all I've ever done during this entire relationship is sacrifice everything to keep you happy. I didn't want therapy. I wanted you. But you were just never there, so I found comfort in the next woman that was available. Oh, wow. Okay, you know what? Why don't you go live with your available woman right now? I'm glad that we don't have a child now. The universe just showed me what you would have been like if I ever went through something horrible and would not be able to be there with you. Get out of my house and of my life. With pleasure. The anger that was flowing through my veins made me feel like my body was overheating. Before Sam left, I threw the divorce papers in his face and he looked shocked that I even had them. But he didn't say a word. He grabbed all his things and left the house. I didn't think that my life could have gotten any worse, but there I was, at rock bottom. Thankfully, Sam didn't contest the divorce and was very amicable about splitting all our assets. I was only a shell of my former self at this point, so I barely even remember how long the divorce took. My mom came to stay with me and looked after me. I was barely eating or sleeping, and I began to look like a zombie. Eventually, my mom decided that I needed to get therapy to deal with everything that I was going through, and even though I didn't want to do all that, she pushed me to do it, and I will admit that it began to help me a lot. I finally picked up a job too, and within 7 months I was back on my feet and thriving. I was beginning to finally smile, and the world seemed to get its color back. 2 months after I got my life together, Sam paid me a visit. I didn't move out of our previous apartment because I really liked the location. I saw no reason to move. But in hindsight, the smarter decision would have been to move. Anyway, I opened the door and saw Sam, and my mood dampened. Hey, Celeste. What do you want? Whoa, no need to be so aggressive. I really don't have time to listen to you. What do you want? Okay, well, my partner just gave birth to our son. And? Do you want me to congratulate you? Because if you do, that is not happening. No, I didn't expect that much maturity out of you. Maturity? Do you think congratulating your ex on the birth of his affair baby is a sign of maturity? Did you hit your head on something, or were you always this insane? Like I said, there's no need for you to lash out at me. What happened in the past happened. Why don't you just move on? Sam, it's literally been less than a year since everything happened. Just because you moved on doesn't mean that I have to as well. If all you wanted to do was rub your new family in my face, I'm going to get going. No, wait. I need to ask you something. You have 2 minutes to tell me whatever you need to, and then I'm shutting the door in your face. Okay, well, as you know, I now have a son, and it got me thinking about who the godparents would be. My girlfriend and I decided that we would each do one godparent. I kept trying to think of who would be a good candidate, and I kept drawing a blank. That was until I remembered you. You can't possibly be suggesting that I be your son's godmother, Sam. I am. You're really good with kids. I've seen it in the way that you've taken care of your nieces and nephews. You'd be the perfect godmother for my son. Have you honestly lost your mind? How dare you ask me to be your son's godmother? Do you really feel no remorse for what you did to me? I do, and I just thought that this could be a good way for us to reconcile our relationship. You know, we could become friends now. Absolutely not. I meant it when I said that I wanted nothing to do with you. How can you say no? Okay, here, just look at my son's face. Isn't he the cutest? Why would you think that showing me your son's face would change my decision? I still don't want to be the godmother of your affair child. Besides, are we even sure that the child is yours? What do you mean? Of course he's mine. I mean, all I'm saying is that the child has blonde hair and blue eyes, which neither you nor your girlfriend have. You should probably take a paternity test. Are you really accusing my girlfriend of cheating on me? I know what this is. You're jealous of the life I have now. Sam, I really have no patience to deal with your idiocy. Goodbye. But also, do take that paternity test. I have no reason to be jealous of a stupid man. The absolute audacity that Sam had to ask me to be the godmother of his child was brain-breaking. I kid you not, I felt like my brain short-circuited when he asked me that. But seeing that picture of his kid did make me a little confused. Now, because of the explicit pictures of Sam's girlfriend that I saw on Sam's phone, I knew what she looked like. The baby had none of her features, nor did he have any of Sam's features. I will admit that even if I was wrong, I just wanted to mess with Sam's head. I knew that by saying that, he wouldn't be able to shake the thought off, and eventually he'd get the test done. Before you think it, I didn't think that it would be harmful in any way to mess with him that way, because he had no problem messing with me when I was at my worst. Well, it only took 3 weeks for Sam to come back to my place. I contemplated not opening the door to him, but eventually my curiosity got the better of me, and I did. Back so soon? Look, I need to talk to you about something really big. I honestly don't care. Just leave me alone, or I will get a restraining order against you. Please, I really need you this time. I literally do not care about you or any of your self-induced problems. Leave me alone. No, wait, you were right. The baby is not my son. Why are you telling me this? How do you want me to react to this? Really? Do you not feel bad for me at all? Sam, you made your bed and you got to lie in it now. I told you that any and all the feelings I had towards you vanished the day I found out that you cheated on me. What cemented that was you leaving me for your affair partner. I cannot feel even the least bit of sympathy for you. I know I messed up really bad last time, but you have to know that I've truly realized my mistake since then. I realized just how bad of a person I was to you. Will you please give me another chance? Another chance? The last time you messed up, I gave you another chance, and you know how you paid me back? Besides, there's absolutely no reason for me to give you another chance. Oh, come on! Do you not remember how much we used to have together? We were together for so long. You should definitely miss me at least a little. Did you care about any of that when you cheated on me while I was grieving the loss of our child? I told you that I made a mistake. You need to let it go. I've let it go. It's you that can't seem to let it go. I mean, look at you. You're begging your ex-wife to take you back, and you look pathetic while doing it. Wow. There's no need to be so harsh either. There's definitely an absolute need for that, because I don't think you understand what leave me alone means. I'm only asking you one last time to just give me another chance to prove myself. I won't ever look at another woman. I'll work from home and I'll treat you like the queen that you are. Just please let me come back into your life. Look, even if I wanted to give you a chance, I wouldn't be able to, because I'm in a relationship with someone else right now. What? Why are you so surprised? You wanted me to move on, right? So I did. How dare you? I can't believe you gave me so much crap for cheating on you, and look at what you're doing right now. Sam, I'm not cheating on you in any way. We're legally divorced and I'm free to date whoever I please. Leave me alone, and I really mean it this time, or I will call the police on you. Okay, I didn't actually have a boyfriend. I just wanted to get Sam off my back. But to hear him accuse me of cheating was actually so funny that I had to physically hold myself from bursting out in laughter at the absurdity of that accusation. Not to mention, Sam had some nerve to accuse me of cheating and to be offended by that notion when his affair was the reason for us being separated. I slammed the door in Sam's face, though, and I couldn't help but think about how I had been right about the baby not being his. I felt really good when I found that out. The fact that Sam got to feel exactly what I had felt when he left me. You'd think that it would at least make him at least a little ashamed of his conduct, but clearly he doesn't care enough for that. He's ready to beg and plead in order to get his way, which I was not going to let happen. Anyways, Sam backed off for a while after that. Thankfully, it was a long enough period that I was able to move from one apartment to another. I was finally beginning to feel good that I had left the past behind, but then Sam began to bombard my phone with a lot of texts using a new number. I knew the man was desperate, but to see him go that low made me feel nothing but disgust towards him. I mean, a part of me felt bad that I no longer felt any sympathy or even a smidge of the love I used to feel for him. But I kept reminding myself that he never thought of me that way, especially when I had just gone through something very traumatic. That instantly makes me stop feeling bad. Anyway, these texts that Sam sent me were all pleased to take him back. He also, without my asking, gave me updates about his life. For starters, he confronted his girlfriend about the paternity of his child, and she threw a fit, apparently. She accused him of not trusting her and for going behind her back to take the DNA test. Sam didn't hold back from calling her a bunch of nasty things, which only angered her more, so she told him to get out of her house and threw all of his things out of her window so he could fetch them himself. Once again, I couldn't help but chuckle at how stupid Sam was, especially because right after that, Sam told me that I was the reason that he was homeless and single. See, I never responded to his long-winded text, but the urge to reply to that one was so strong. I still don't understand how he could blame me for everything when he was the one who was making the kind of decisions that would put him in a bad place. Anyway, at some point, I got tired of his constant texting and I blocked his number. I also changed my phone number to make sure that Sam had absolutely no way to contact me. I've been doing great as of late, and even though from time to time I still think about what my future could have looked like if I had my husband and my child, I always remember that things happen for a reason. Whatever happened to me saved me, and as much as it hurt, I'm in a much better place today. Hello, my name is Eileen and I'm 60 years old. I know I'm pretty old, but I've heard a lot of stories here and I wanted to tell you one of my own. Let me begin by telling you a little about myself. I got married when I was only 21 years old. I married my high school sweetheart. I was young and in love and I didn't know any better. All I knew was that I wanted to be with him for the rest of my life. But that didn't mean that our relationship was all sunshine and rainbows. My husband was a cruel man, and he was never too shy to insult me and belittle me at all times. I was practically a servant to him. There was never a moment for me to rest. Thankfully, regardless of his verbal abuse, he still let me finish college and get a job. However, I only found out later on that the only reason he wanted me to work was so that he could sit at home while I paid all the bills. So not only was I doing all the housework, but I was also working 2 jobs just to make ends meet. I ended up getting pregnant about 4 years into the marriage, right around the time when I was playing around with the idea of leaving him. I was extremely worried about how I was going to be able to provide for my husband, my child, and myself, because I was struggling already. But in hindsight, I didn't have to worry that much about it either. You see, just 1 year after my son, Chris, was born, my husband just up and left out of the blue. I remember waking up to an empty bed and all traces of my husband gone from the house. The memory is so vivid in my brain only because instead of feeling any heartbreak or panic, all I felt was relief. I felt relieved because in that year, my husband's behavior only got worse. I was worried about how he was going to treat Chris when he was old enough to understand what was going on. So, when my husband left, I was happy to know that my son would grow up in a better environment. That, however, did not change the fact that I was going to be a single mother with no help whatsoever. My parents had practically disowned me the day that I got married, and I was too ashamed to go back to them after so long. But I made things work. I tried my best to parent Chris well, while making sure that we had a roof over our heads, and food on our table. Chris was a wonderful child while growing up and only became a little deviant when he entered his teenage years. Looking back, I think he must have gotten mixed up with the wrong crowd, and I was too busy working hard to notice the changes in his behavior. Regardless, he still did well in school, and I was able to save up enough money over the years to be able to send him to college with minimal debt required for him. Chris chose to stay at home with me while he attended college, which was only a 20-minute drive from home. I didn't mind that because I really didn't want to be home alone. About 6 months into college, Chris told me that he had a girlfriend named Hannah. He told me that they started talking because they shared a class and they'd been going on dates for a while. I was happy for him, and I never pushed to find out more than he was willing to tell me. I did ask him once to show me a picture of his girlfriend, but he vehemently refused, and even though I thought that was odd, I dropped it. Just 3 months after Chris told me about his girlfriend, I came home from work to find him frantically packing his clothes into a suitcase. I was alarmed and confused, so I asked him why he was packing his things. "Whoa, why are you packing up everything?" "I'm sorry to do this to you, Mom, but I need to leave the state." "What? What are you talking about?" "So, you know that I've been seeing this girl, Hannah, right?" "Yeah, don't tell me that you're planning on moving away with her or something. You're too young for that." "No, it's the opposite. I'm running away from her." "Why? Did she hurt you?" "No, but I did get her pregnant." "What?" "And she wants to keep the baby. I want no part of that. I'm too young to be a father." "First of all, how could you be so irresponsible, Chris?" "I wasn't trying to be irresponsible, Mom. It was a mistake." "A very grave mistake, that's for sure. But you can't just leave like that." "I can. Hannah won't listen to me, and I do not want to be anywhere near a child. Hannah thinks that I want to be a father, and she believes that once the kid is born, I'll have a change of heart and I'll want to be a family with her. But I don't want that at all." "So what? Are you just going to run away? That's going to solve your problem?" "If I move away, Hannah will finally realize that I don't want to be a father and she'll leave me alone." "Chris, this is not how I raised you to be. You can't just run away from the consequences of your actions. You need to step up and be there for Hannah." "No way. Do you know how much this is going to ruin my life?" "You should have thought about that before you were careless." "I get it. I made a mistake. Now let me go. I'll text you and call you whenever I can." "If you leave this house, I will no longer consider you my son." "That's insane. Why are you supporting my girlfriend who you don't even know over your son?" "I will support my son when he shows me that he's a decent human being. At least deal with all of this legally so Hannah has no option to force the child onto you." "That just seems like too much work. This is easier and faster. You can't tell me that it's a bad decision when you know that deep down you agree with me too." "I do not agree with you or your choices at all. And if you must know what I feel deep down inside, it's a disappointment. I'm so disappointed with you because no child of mine would be so heartless." "Whatever, Mom. I don't have time for any of your emotional dramas. I'm going. Bye." I tried to stand in between Chris and the door, but he gently shoved me away before leaving. I was shocked. I couldn't believe that Chris would be capable of doing something like that. I knew that I couldn't fully blame him. Maybe if I had properly educated him before he started going to college, I could have helped prevent this pregnancy. Even so, I couldn't believe that Chris was the type of person to just run when confronted with a problem. Over the next week, I tried to call him several times, but none of my calls would go through. I didn't know whether he'd blocked me or if he'd disconnected his number. I was worried sick and I spent several nights awake. I tried to get the police involved, but they told me that since Chris had left voluntarily, there was nothing that they could do. Just as my panic was beginning to lessen and I was beginning to come to terms with Chris having left me for good, I got a knock on my door. I opened it to see a woman about Chris's age, and she looked like she had been crying for days, and I could tell because of her swollen red eyes. She greeted me first. "Hello, Mrs. Hello, Miss Hanson." "Hello. If you don't mind me asking, who are you?" "I'm Hannah." Oh my gosh, come in. I'm so sorry I didn't recognize you. Chris never showed me any pictures of you." "It's okay. I don't think I should have expected anything much from him, really, but speaking of Chris, do you know where he is?" "Oh, sweetheart, I don't know how to break this to you, but he's run away." "What?" "He told me about what's going on. I tried my best to get him to stay, but he refused to do that. I'm so sorry that this is happening to you." "No, please don't apologize. It's my fault. I shouldn't have pushed him to stay with me, but I at least hoped he'd help me out until the baby came along. I told him the same thing, but he refused." "I don't know what to do anymore. How am I going to raise this child on my own? Where do I live now?" "Whoa, hold on a minute. What do you mean by you don't know where you're going to live? Don't your parents live close by?" "They do, but they kicked me out. They had only one rule for me when I went off to college, and that was to not get pregnant, and now here I am. They refuse to see me or my baby." "Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry that you have to go through all this. You don't deserve to." "My parents were right. No offense, but Chris was not a good guy for me. I fully understand why they must have thought that. I tried my best to bring him up in the right way, but some people just cannot be helped, I guess. But what I can do is try and make up for my son's atrocious actions." "What do you mean?" "What I mean is that I want you and your child to move in with me. I'll take care of you, and I'll help you out as best I can. You have nothing to worry about. I want you to finish getting your degree too, so you can find a good job to support yourself and your child." "Really? You'd do that for me?" "Sweetheart, I know what it's like to be a single mother. I know the troubles that we have to go through, and I do not want that to happen to you. Now that Chris is gone, I can use what money I saved up for him to help you and my grandchild." "Thank you so much, Miss Hanson." "Oh, please, call me Eileen." "Where are you staying currently?" "I'm living in the dorms at college, but I doubt that I'll be able to live there comfortably while I'm pregnant." "I'll tell you what, how about this weekend I'll help you move out of there, and we could grab your things from your parents' place too, if you'd like." "Really?" "Of course. In the meantime, you need to do all the work that comes with moving from the dorms, like informing your college about the pregnancy and stuff. And if you need my help with that too, don't hesitate to ask." "Thank you so much, Miss Eileen." I couldn't believe that Hannah had been abandoned by everyone who was supposed to help her out, including my son. Finding out that he knew about how her parents disapproved of him, he knew that she would not be able to comfortably go through the pregnancy, and he still chose to leave her. Made my blood boil. Of course, I was very serious about my promise to help Hannah out in every way that I could. The first thing I did after she left was to repurpose Chris's old room. I threw out all the things that belonged to him and made room for all of Hannah's things. I also emptied the spare room that I was using for storage to make room for a nursery. I spent the next week refurbishing the rooms for Hannah and my grandchild, and also helping Hannah get all the paperwork done for university and moving out of her dorm and parents' place. Hannah never stopped thanking me throughout it all, and every time she thanked me, my heart hurt to think about how she had been treated. I knew that I was going to make sure that Hannah didn't struggle again like this. After Hannah moved in, I made sure that Hannah was comfortable. She burst into tears when she saw her room and the nursery, and she would not stop thanking me. I promised her again that I would take care of her in every possible way that I could. I made sure she ate properly and took her to all her doctor's appointments. Finally, when the time came to give birth to her child, Hannah asked that I be there by her side, and let me tell you, I cried hard when she asked me to do that. I was so touched that she trusted me enough to let me be by her side when she was most vulnerable. After 12 hours of labor, Hannah gave birth to a beautiful baby boy named Adrian. Having Adrian at home made me question how I went through taking care of Chris when he was that age all by myself. Newborns are difficult to handle and they really take everything out of you. But I made sure that Hannah had a good night's rest most days because I wanted her to focus on her studies so she could land a good job. About 1 month after Adrian's birth, I got a call from an unknown number. Hello? Who is this? Hey, Mom, it's me, Chris. Oh, do you want something? Okay, I know that you're mad at me for not contacting you for months. I'm sorry. I had to lay low, so Hannah had no way to contact me. That's good for you, Chris. Aren't you worried about me? Not really. I haven't had any time to think about you or your well-being. Wow, why's that? What could possibly be keeping you so busy that you forgot about your son? It's more of who's keeping me busy rather than what. Fine, who is it? It's Hannah and her son, Adrian. What? You're keeping in touch with them? I have to keep in touch with them since they live with me now, Chris. Excuse me? I cannot believe that you let my ex and her baby live in my house. This is not your house, Chris. And of course I'm letting them stay with me. Someone has to step up and take care of them. I gave you all my reasoning for not wanting to be a part of all that. Tell me one thing honestly. Did you know that Hannah's family kicked her out because she was pregnant, and with your child no less? Why does that matter? So you did know. Yeah, I did, but I wasn't going to let that change my decision about leaving. You know, I expected you to at least empathize with the girl before bounding off to God knows where, especially because you grew up with a single mother. Oh God, here we go again with your emotional monologues. You're the one that called me. I was happy not talking to or even thinking about you. But you know exactly why you don't like my emotional monologues. It's because they contain the truth, and you cannot face them because you're a coward. Are you done with this outburst of yours? I called to just check in on you, not hear a lecture about what a bad person or son I am. I really do not like the person that you've become now. It makes me so angry to see how you've become. Then you'll be happy to hear that I'll never be coming home. Do not try to call me again. Like I would want to call someone who could abandon a helpless person when they're at their lowest. I don't expect you to even help me, your own mother, when I need it. Whatever. Bye. It had already been 9 months since I had no contact with Chris, and I don't know with what audacity he had that he thought he could call me and berate me for taking in his ex-girlfriend whom he left after he got her pregnant. I was not joking when I told him that I wouldn't consider him my son if he left. I even made peace with it. I withheld that conversation with Chris from Hannah for a long time. Mostly because I didn't want her to feel even more guilty than she already felt for ruining my relationship with my son, and also because I didn't want her to ever get curious enough to want to get in contact with him. She deserved better than that. Over the next few years, Hannah graduated from university with a pretty high rank, and Adrian grew into a lovely child. Adrian was the life and joy of our house. He was very smart and had so much curiosity that I ended up learning about so many things just so I could teach them to him. Hannah managed to score a great job, and after working there for a year, she got a huge promotion, which offered her not only a huge pay raise, but also a lot of other benefits, including company housing. Now, of course, if it were up to me, I would never want them to leave, but I also knew that Hannah needed to strike out on her own, so with a heavy heart, I helped Hannah pack hers and Adrian's things and help them move into their new home. The only upside was that their new place was only 10 minutes away from my home. Of course, just because they moved, it didn't mean that I was not going to see them as often. In fact, we all still had dinners together every evening, and I would babysit Adrian after his school hours until Hannah came back from work. Life was going well until one day I began to feel very dizzy and faint. I vaguely remember hearing Adrian yelling and Hannah coming in through the front door. After that, I blacked out. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. Hannah was standing at the foot of the bed and was talking to the doctor. After the doctor left, I asked her what happened to me. What happened? Last thing I remember was feeling very faint and then nothing after. Oh, Eileen, thank God you're okay. You had a heart attack. It's only a miracle that I was there in time to get you help. What? Adrian and I were so worried about you. Are you feeling any better? I think I am. I'm more so just shocked about the whole heart attack thing. Did the doctor tell you what caused it? Stress and your diet. And you don't have to worry too much either. It was a minor attack, so you're in no danger for anything serious as of now. You just need to relax a little more and be more conscious of your diet. I guess, but let's be honest, knowing that I had a heart attack that could happen again is what's going to stress me out more than anything. Hey, it's all right. Adrian and I are going to be here with you. Why don't you tell me what I can do to help you feel better and less stressed? If I'm being very honest, I kind of want to meet a lawyer. A lawyer? Why? Well, this whole episode got me thinking about how I need to get all my ducks in a row, you know. Eileen, you're going to live a long life. You don't have to get so worked up about one minor scare. I know, but I already had my will made a long time ago, right after my husband left me and Chris alone. I obviously set him up to be the sole inheritor of all my assets and money, but I don't want that anymore. Oh, if you don't mind me asking, who are you going to make the inheritor of your assets? You and Adrian, of course. What? Why us? I mean, we love you more than life itself, and you've done more for me in these 14 years than my own parents have, but you don't have to do that. Why don't you donate your things to a charity for single mothers or an orphanage? That's a great idea. I'll donate a portion of my assets to charity and the rest will go to you two. You two are the only family I have remaining. Chris is practically dead to me, and I want to make sure that the two of you are well taken care of even after I'm gone. Okay, let's not talk about you going anywhere right now, although I am very grateful for the fact that you thought about us so much. How about you get some rest for now, and tomorrow we'll find you your lawyer. That sounds perfect. I was genuinely shocked at what had happened to me. I knew I didn't exactly live the healthiest of lifestyles, but I never thought I'd be affected in this manner. The heart episode was a wake-up call for me to get my act together. The next morning, after some more checkups, I was discharged from the hospital. Hannah tried to convince me to go back home and get some rest before doing anything else, but I was adamant about going to a lawyer. I had experienced firsthand how fleeting life could be, and I did not want to waste a second to do the right thing. Hannah drove me to a good lawyer, and I revised my will. I also made sure to add a clause stating that Chris would get absolutely nothing from me. I wanted to avoid all possibilities of Chris getting a hold of my assets. After seeing how disgusting he could be, I was sure that he would contest the will and try to take away everything that I wanted to give Hannah and Adrian. And it was a good thing that I followed my instinct, because only 2 weeks after I amended my will, I had a knock on my door. It was the weekend, so I was home alone. I opened the door and was shocked to see Chris standing in front of me. He looked a lot older, and while he still had the same face, there was something so unrecognizable about him. "Hi, Mom, I'm back." "Oh, God, what are you doing here?" "What? I can't drop in just to check in on my mother?" "You can, but not after 14 years. Why are you really here, Chris?" "I really am here only to check up on you. I missed you, Mom." "Don't even try to lie to me right now, Chris. I have no time for this." "No, seriously, I heard that you had a heart episode recently and I got concerned, so I came over." "Oh, well, I appreciate your concern, but I'm okay now. That being said, I would like you to leave now because I don't want anything to do with you." Oh, come on now. There's no need to be so mean. Chris, you did the worst thing possible to Hannah and then you left for 14 years. You cannot expect me to be nice to you right now. Are you still in touch with Hannah and her kid? Of course. In fact, they'll be coming over here in an hour and I really want you to leave immediately. Wow. So you really did not care for me or my feelings at all, huh? I mean, I don't know why I expected anything more out of you. Anyway, the other reason I came here was to ask you what you were leaving me in my inheritance. I need to make some life-altering plans and I need to know what exactly I'm getting. Why will you get anything from me? I have no son to give my inheritance to. You can't be serious right now. Are you really telling me to my face that you have no care for me? I made one decision that you didn't like, and you're punishing me by taking away my potential future? What are you even talking about? I sacrificed everything to make sure you had a better life. I tried my best to raise you well, and you threw all my efforts down the drain the second you abandoned the girl you impregnated. You saw how I struggled to raise you on my own, and you saw no problem doing that to another woman. Your one decision almost ruined another woman and child's life. You don't deserve anything from me. You know, I could contest that will of yours in court, right? I'll make sure to get something. You don't think I'm stupid enough to let that happen, do you? You're a despicable person, and you need to get off my property right now before I get the cops involved. I shut the door in Chris's face and then numbly walked over to my room. I will not lie about how I felt. I was genuinely shocked to see Chris standing in front of my house. I had practically made peace with never seeing him ever again, and to see him there looking happy and healthy made all the pain and heartbreak I endured when he left come crashing down on me. I missed him, obviously. He was my son. But him confessing that he wasn't even here to make up for his mistakes, but for his inheritance, made my heart break all over again. Once again, I was struggling to understand where I went wrong when I was raising him. I wondered if there was anything that I could have done differently. Maybe I could have worked less, or I could have been a little more strict instead of being understanding and letting some things go. But then again, I knew that I did my absolute best to raise him in the best way that I knew. I had to provide for us, and if I didn't work as much as I did, we would have been in the streets. I had to remind myself that Chris was an adult when he made the decisions that he made, and even though he was still very young, there was never a time when I hinted that I wouldn't help him out. He had 14 years to right his wrong, but he chose not to. He chose to remain away from home. I don't know how he found out that I was sick, but there is one thing that I'm glad I did: rewriting my will. I managed to get myself together after that interaction, and I was even happier to see that Chris had left my property. By the time I had calmed down, Hannah and Adrian had come over. I told Hannah about what happened, and for the first time ever, I had seen her get angry. Hannah had the sweetest temper, and I had never seen her get angry. She was angry that Chris had the audacity to show up only to question his inheritance and not to express care for me. I was grateful that Hannah felt that way too. I was beginning to feel like I was overreacting. Hannah did ask me if I wanted her to confront him about his behavior, but I shot that down immediately. I saw no need to rehash the past. Confronting Chris would not change his mindset, and we were all happier living on our own terms with Chris out of the picture. The next few days were filled with anxiety for me because I was worried that Chris would randomly come over to talk again. But thankfully, that never happened. Hannah could tell that I was anxious and she was worried for my health, so she and Adrian stayed with me for the next week. It was nice having them back at home, and it reminded me all over again why I didn't want Chris to be a part of my life ever again. It's been about a month since I saw Chris, and things have gone back to normal again. I don't think he's still in town anymore, and even if he was, I don't care. I may have lost my son, but I know one thing for sure. I gained a daughter and a grandson, and nothing has made me happier than that. I'm Adora and I'm 16 years old. I recently managed to get out of a very toxic situation with my unbothered parents, all thanks to my grandmother. It ended with my parents begging me to forgive them, but how about I start from the very beginning? For the first 13 years of my life, it had always been me, my mom, Camellia, and my dad, Howard. I remember when I was about 6 years old, I really wanted a sibling because all my friends had one and I wanted to be just like them. My parents always turned me down and told me that they didn't want another child because they were content with me. I eventually gave up on the idea of a sibling and got used to being an only child. Being an only child was amazing. I pretty much got spoiled senseless by everyone in my family, but most of all by my grandmother, Trista. She was my mom's mother, and since my mother didn't have any siblings, I was my grandmother's only grandchild. So obviously, I got all her love and affection, and I got a lot of gifts from her. My parents would often drop me off at her place whenever they needed to work late hours, and that was my favorite thing because I loved spending time with my grandmother. But that stopped by the time I was 9. Suddenly, I was not allowed to go over all the time, nor was I allowed to say anything much to her about what living at home was like. Whenever I asked my parents why there was a sudden change, they would always tell me that I was too young to understand. Whatever the reason was, at that time all I felt was loneliness. The only person that I could talk to was someone that I didn't see anymore. My parents were working full time and they only returned home at around 9 p.m., which was my bedtime. Since I had nothing to do, I did the next best thing that I could. I focused on my studies. I also picked up reading as a hobby, and before I knew it, I was one of the toppers in my grade. Pretty soon I immersed myself so much in my studies and the imaginary world of books that I barely even noticed when my parents weren't around. Of course, every once in a while they'd throw me a party to celebrate my good grades, and that was when I'd finally get to meet my grandma. But other than that, I think I just grew used to not having them around. This pattern continued for years. My parents would always call me an easy child because I caused no trouble for them. I mean, how could I cause any trouble for them when they were barely around to begin with? I gradually got used to my loneliness. It became part of me, and I guess I went throughout life being alone because it was like an escape for me. However, all of that was about to change for me. A few months after I turned 13, my parents came back home early from work and called out to me. I ran down to see if something was wrong, but both of them looked really happy, so I calmed down. Mom then told me that she had something to tell me. "Sweetie, we have something really big to tell you." "I'm excited. What is it?" "How about you sit down for this, huh?" "Okay." "Okay, so you remember how when you were little you always asked us for a baby brother or sister?" "Yes." "Well, I'm pregnant." "You're going to have a sibling." "Really? Oh my God, that's amazing." "Yes, and now that you're going to be a big sister, you're going to have to help out around the house. Starting now, though, because your mom is going to be very pregnant and very tired. That means that she won't be able to do her share of the housework for the next few months." "Of course, I'll help out in any way that I can, but what about my schoolwork?" "Oh, sweetie, you don't have to worry about all that. You can go easy on your studies for the next few months, and I'll be there to help you out." "But I don't want to go easy on my studies. I love the track I'm on right now." "I know, but you have to make sacrifices every once in a while, right?" "Especially when it involves your family." "How long are you going to be pregnant for, Mom?" "Just another 7 more months, sweetie." I guess I could make a few sacrifices, but what about after the baby comes? Will I still have to focus on the baby?" "There's still 7 months left to figure that out." "But I want a clear picture so I can plan ahead for it." "Adora, you're being a little bratty right now, and I really don't appreciate it." "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm happy that I'm going to get a sibling, but I'm also worried about what's going to happen after the baby's here. I mean, if you're already asking me to stop focusing on my studies." "Hey, like I said, sweetie, that's an issue for another day. Why don't we get dinner heated and we'll watch your favorite movie to celebrate? All right. I knew already deep down in my heart that the birth of my brother would be the end of my academic success. I mean, I still do love my brother, Milo, to bits, but I was not wrong. When my mom was pregnant, I was only given minor chores to do, things that didn't take much time, like loading and unloading the dishwasher or cleaning the kitchen counters after making our meals. But after my brother Milo was born, I was suddenly given every responsibility in the house. In the first year of Milo's life, I somehow still managed to have some spare time to focus on other things that were not chores. But by the time Milo was 1.5 years old, my parents would make me babysit him while they'd go out to parties. The babysitting would start as soon as I got back home and end only the next morning when my mom would look after him before she went to work in the afternoon. This started happening every once in a while at first and then escalated to 4 to 5 times a week. Now, keep in mind that I was only 14 at this point. I was already struggling with being a teenager, and suddenly I was made responsible for a toddler who was very fussy and hard to deal with. One particular day, I had a really rough time at school and was really tired. So when my mom told me that she and Dad were going out that night, the 3rd night in a row, I kind of snapped. "Sweetie, Dad and I are going out tonight." "Again? Is that a tone I hear?" "No, I'm sorry, but who's watching Milo?" "You, of course, silly." "I can't do that today, Mom. I have my finals tomorrow and I really need to study." "Oh, hush, Adora. Dad and I told you that we would be okay with you just passing your exams." "But I'm not okay with that. Do you know how humiliating it is that I've dropped to a below average student?" "So? Do you not care about your family?" "That's not what I'm saying." "That's definitely what it sounds like. You have no idea what kind of sacrifices your dad and I had to make for you when you were little. The least you can do right now is help us out when we need it." "I love helping you out, Mom. It's just that you and Dad are always going out. And you always leave me to babysit Milo." "Sweetie, your dad and I are always super stressed because of work. This is our way of relaxing." "What about me? I deserve to relax too, right?" "I'm sorry. Do you work 80 hours a week? Do you have taxes to file and bills to pay?" "No, but I do have a ton of things to do as well, and I get tired too." "Adora, stop being a brat. You know that your family should always come first. I get that you're tired, but so are your dad and I. Now be a good girl and look after your brother." "Can't you at least drop Milo off at Grandma's or have her come here so she can look after him while I study?" "Absolutely not." "Why? I just gave you the perfect solution." "Look, that was not a solution. That was your strategy to try and weasel your way out of doing your family responsibilities." "That's not true." "Your grandmother is old, and we don't want to disturb her, okay? Now, your dad and I need to get going. Dinner's ready and in the fridge. Just heat it up. Make sure Milo sleeps on time. Love you. Bye." I hated that I could never properly stand up for myself, and my parents never let me ever get a word in. If I ever said something rational, they'd shut me down or tell me that I was being disrespectful. The previous conversation was only the start of the many fights I had with them over the course of the 1.5 years. I would constantly ask them why they couldn't take care of Milo or have some family member look after Milo, but they would always shut me down. Whenever the argument was getting too heated, they'd pull the family card. They'd tell me that family comes first, and they'd guilt trip me for not valuing my family. And how could I stay mad at that? Every time they made that argument, I would shut down because I'd be so racked with guilt. I would do everything they wanted for the next week or so just to show them how much I cared for them. This cycle continued for a while, but just a few weeks after my 16th birthday, my parents sat me down and told me that they had to talk to me about something. "Sweetie, we need to talk to you about something." "Yes, but first let me check up on you. It's been a while since you told me what's been going on with you. How was school today? It was okay. Nothing new, really. Okay, that's great. Now, your dad has something to tell you. Yes, so your mother and I were thinking, now that you're 16, we think you should start looking for a part-time job. What? Why? Well, we were just thinking that you could help contribute to the household expenses. It never hurts to have some more money, right? Haven't I been doing enough? Adora, don't you dare yell at us. How can I not? I've done my best to listen to you. At my expense, no less. I have no time to do anything that I love as it is because I need to take care of my brother. If I start working right now, I'll not even have time to study. Why are you so intense about your studies? Look at your dad and me. We have the most basic degrees and we're living comfortably. Then why do you want some more money if you're that comfortable? There's no need for me to get a job. Is it really that hard for you to be a decent person and help your family out? It's clearly not. I've done nothing but look after my brother for the last 3 years, while you two only went to parties. Milo thinks of me more as a mother than a sister. Doesn't that concern you in the least bit? He's just young. He'll understand things when he's older. But for now, you have to get a job. Okay, I'll get the job if we hire a babysitter. I can't take care of Milo and work and focus on school at the same time. Absolutely not. I am not leaving my son in the hands of a stranger. Not to mention that will be way too expensive. You can use my entire pay to offset that expense, though. We're living pretty comfortably right now, like you said. Look, you either get a job and help our family out, or you get out of this house. Do you understand me? How is that fair to me at all? Tough luck, kiddo. There's a life lesson for you. Life is never fair. You just have to deal with it. You guys are clearly making this unfair for me. I don't want to babysit Milo all the time. And work, too. The least that you guys could do is help me out a little. Sweetie, we're busy earning money to keep you and Milo alive. So if you can't juggle working and raising your child, how do you expect me to do that? That's enough backtalk. We've had enough of your disrespect. Your mom is not joking when she said that we would kick you out if you don't listen to us. Now, your dad and I have another place to be at. We'll be back later on. Make sure you and Milo eat dinner. Take care, and if you need anything, just call us. Bye. I couldn't believe the audacity that my parents had to force me to get a job. And this time, they didn't only pull the family card, but they also threatened to throw me out if I didn't listen to them. I remember feeling so hurt that day, and even more hurt the next day when my mom told me that she had spoken to a friend who was willing to give me a job at her diner. I ended up taking that job, and I was expected to work every day of the week because that's what my mom told her friend that I wanted to do. I had absolutely no time for anything, not even sleep. I would wake up early in the morning, go to school, go to work, pick Milo up from daycare, get back, babysit Milo for a little while, until my parents came back home from work or their party, study and sleep for 3 to 4 hours. I was living a nightmare. But everything finally changed for the better one day. That day, I had a pretty rough day at work and I was beyond tired. I came back home to a note on the fridge that was signed by Mom telling me that she and Dad had gone out. Well, that was not new to me. For the first time, there was no dinner or money left for Milo. I was tired and hungry, and after trying to reach both Mom and Dad, who never answered their phones, there was only one person I could think to reach out to, my grandma. Hi, sweetie, is everything all right? Hi, Grandma. I need your help with something. Of course. What do you need? Well, there's nothing to eat at home, and I don't have any money to order any food in. Whoa. Why is there no food at home? Well, it's been a while since Mom and Dad went grocery shopping. Okay, and where are they right now? At some party. And you and Milo are home alone? Yeah, but I'm completely used to that. It's normal. I just need help with the food, so if you could maybe order us some food. That's nonsense. I'm coming over and cooking you guys something nutritious. And why is it normal for you and Milo to stay home alone? I mean, Mom and Dad have been doing this since Milo was born. I've been babysitting every day so Mom and Dad can go to their many parties. What? Why didn't you tell me any of this? Mom and Dad made me promise not to say anything, and it was usually okay because they'd either leave dinner ready for us or they would give me money to order food. How can they just leave their kids home unsupervised? Don't worry about it, Grandma. I'm 16. Yeah, but this has been going on for 3 years now. That's unacceptable. Wait, is this why you've been looking so tired? And your grades have been dropping? Yeah. I mean, between working and taking care of Milo, I really have no time to focus on anything else. Why did you pick up a job, sweetie? If you really needed some extra cash, I could have helped you out, you know. I really appreciate that, Grandma, but Mom and Dad wouldn't let me talk to you about anything. They made me get a job so I could contribute to the household expenses. So they forced you to take a job and then they take away your money too? Yeah, I know. I wish I could do something, but sweetie, don't you worry about a thing. I'm going to make things right for you. But Mom and Dad are going to be angry with me. I don't know how Milo is going to survive if my parents aren't going to be around as much. Don't you worry about a thing. Your parents were not any different from you. It took your grandpa and I to give them an ultimatum for them to step up and take care of you properly. Really? Yeah, it was a whole thing. I wasn't all too worried about Milo because I figured that they'd cleaned up their act after raising you for 13 years, but clearly they thought that they could pass off their duties to you. I don't want you to live like this. You are a child, for heaven's sake. I don't know how to thank you, Grandma. Nonsense. I'm going to drop by the store and pick up some ingredients right now. I'll be there in about half an hour. We'll discuss how we'll go about this then, okay? Stay safe and make sure the doors and windows are locked. Yes, Grandma. Drive safe. As soon as I said that, Milo and I were home alone. I felt like Mom and Dad would have been mad at me. That was exactly the kind of thing that they told me not to tell anyone, especially Grandma. But I was starving and I didn't have it in me to think straight. As I waited for Grandma to come over, I couldn't help but question why my parents kept telling me to not tell Grandma anything. Before I could work myself up and overthink the conversation I had with Grandma, I heard a car pull into the driveway. Grandma came over in half an hour just like she promised she would. I opened the door to her and she greeted me with a warm hug. Grandma quickly made us some food and served it to us. Milo and I ate the food like we hadn't ever seen food before. When we were done, Grandma asked Milo to go play with his toys while she talked to me. Once Milo was out of the room, she asked me if she could record our conversation, and while I was confused, I told her that she could. She proceeded to ask me questions regarding Mom and Dad's parenting and their presence in Milo's and my life, and I honestly told her that they were barely there. I told her that I was more of a mother figure to Milo than my mom was, and Grandma looked so upset. I basically told her everything that I've told you so far, and by the end of it, Grandma had tears in her eyes as she hugged me. She apologized over and over again for not being there for me when I needed her. But I didn't understand why she was apologizing. She had no idea, right? Wrong. Turns out, when I was younger, my parents would drop me off at Grandma's every day because they were partying instead of working, as my grandma had thought. While my grandma loved me to bits, she also knew that she couldn't be my parent. So when her repeated warnings to my parents to not dump me at her doorstep every day didn't work, she got CPS involved. There was a short period where it was debated whether my parents should continue to have custody of me, but eventually my parents got let off with a warning. And after that, I never got to visit my grandma as much anymore. My grandma thought that my parents actually took the warning seriously and turned their lives around, but clearly that was not the case. So Grandma told me her plan. She asked me to be patient for another month because in that month she'd hire a private investigator to look into all of my parents' activities so she could take them to court about it. I was surprised that Grandma would go that far for me, but I was actually relieved that I was going to be able to get out of my parents' house. I assured her that I'd be able to last another month, and then I slowly began counting down the days to the end of that month. About a month and a half later, my parents barged into my room early one evening, looking panicked. "Adora, did you say something to your grandmother?" "What do you mean?" "Do not even try to lie to us right now." "I mean, the other day, you and Dad were at a party and there was no food at home at all. I didn't have any money, so I did the next logical thing and asked Grandma to help me out. She asked me a bunch of questions and I answered them." "You stupid girl! We told you over and over again not to tell your grandma anything." "How was I supposed to get food for Milo and me? How was I supposed to answer all her questions?" "Oh, come on, you're a smart girl. You could have come up with a few lies." "I was starving and my brain was barely working right at that point. You know, you should be thanking me for not letting Milo go to bed hungry. I don't see why you guys are yelling at me." "You don't understand what you've done. Your grandma is pressing charges against us for child neglect, and she wants custody of both you and Milo." "And that is a bad thing because—" "Excuse me? Do you not care that you'll be taken away from your parents?" "Why would I? You have shown me in the last 3 years just how much you care for and value me. I mean, I've barely been living while the two of you party almost every night." "Fine. I get that you're angry and upset at us, but you could have just talked to us about it." "Every time I tried, you would shut it down. You'd guilt trip me by talking about family." "I tried, but you never wanted to listen." "Okay, how about this? We'll let you do whatever you want, but you need to ask your grandmother to drop charges against us." "Yes, sweetie, we really are sorry for everything we did. Could you please find it in your heart to forgive us?" "We'll do everything we can to make it up to you. Just tell your grandmother to drop the charges, all right?" "Saying sorry isn't going to bring back the last 3 years of my life. I see nothing wrong with what Grandma's doing. If you really cared about Milo and me, you'd have taken proper care of both of us. Our well-being and safety would have been your number one priority. This is just a consequence of all your actions. Do you not understand the gravity of this situation? Your dad and I are going to become social pariahs." "Wow. How did you think that that point would work in your favor?" "I don't care about your social status, but clearly you two care more about that than your own kids. I mean, you're just proving why Grandma is right over and over again." "You need to stop being so ungrateful. We did not raise you to be like this." "You're absolutely right. You did not raise me. I raised myself, and I raised Milo so far. You two don't deserve to be parents, and Grandma is showing you that. If you want the charges dropped so bad, maybe you should talk to the person who filed those charges against you. I have no play in any of this." "Come back right this instant, young lady." "I'm going to bed. Milo's fast asleep, so keep the yelling to a minimum. He's gotten very used to a quiet house, so he wakes up easily to sounds. Good night." It felt great to finally be able to stand up to my parents without having to worry about my well-being. I didn't even fully realize just how much of an impact their life choices had made on me until that phone call with Grandma. I mean, I was so burnt out and exhausted all the time, and it never registered in my head that it wasn't normal. Seeing my parents freak out and beg me to forgive them so I could tell Grandma to drop their charges made me feel sort of powerful. All my life, all my parents ever did was demand that I do the things that they wanted me to do. There was never any space for my wants and needs. So to see them begging that way made me feel I finally had some value. But knowing that the only reason they were even begging me was because they were worried about losing all their party friends made my blood go cold with rage. Yes, I said cold, because the second my mother brought that up, I felt so angry that I was calm. I was kind of glad that I didn't scream at them because then it would have made me look like I was hurt by them, and I did not want to give them any satisfaction. Anyway, I ended up moving in with my grandmother while the trial took place, only because I did not want to deal with my parents during that time. My parents tried to have me escorted back home, but I was 16, and in my state, that's old enough to decide where I want to live. My brother was thankfully being taken care of properly, but Grandma assured me that he wouldn't have to be with them for too long. The private investigator that Grandma hired did an excellent job of collecting evidence of my parents' whereabouts over the past month. My recorded confession was very helpful in outlining all my parents' neglect. I also had proof from my teachers and friends about my decline in health and overall academic performance. My parents' friends also stood as witnesses and testified to my parents' presence at every party that was hosted over the course of the last 3 years. There was absolutely nothing that my parents had as a defense for their horrible actions. My mom tried to cry and manipulate the jury with all sorts of excuses about why she did that, but none of them worked. Eventually, it was decided that my grandma would have full custody of me and my brother Milo. My parents looked devastated and tried to talk to me after the verdict was given, but my grandma steered me and Milo away so we wouldn't have to deal with my parents' emotions. Grandma told me afterward, though, that my parents ended up throwing a huge fit and lashing out at my grandma for ruining their lives. My grandma did not care to listen to a single word of theirs and reminded them that she had warned them that if they messed up raising me, she'd fight to get custody of their kids. She left them standing in the court with their jaws dropped. It's only been a month since Grandma got custody of Milo and me, but I really am enjoying my freedom and spare time. The first thing that Grandma made me do was reduce my working hours to only the weekends, which helped me out a lot. She also lets me keep my money, and so I can spend it on whatever I want. Milo also seems a lot happier, and I'm glad that he is. I finally have the time to pick up and read all the books that I've been wanting to read ever since Milo was born. As for my studies, now that I'm sleeping well and have time, I'm working my way up to being a straight A student once again. I don't know what's been happening with my parents, and to be really honest, I don't care. I know that they've tried to reach out to me many times, but Grandma always shelters me and talks to them instead. I'm so incredibly lucky that I have a wonderful grandma like her. She has talked to me about getting therapy to deal with everything that has happened to me in the last 3 years because, to be honest, I think parenting my brother for so long did take a toll on me. I'm looking into it, and I'm sure that it'll only make me feel better. I'm excited to finally live my life the way I want to. It took a long time to get here, but I'm really excited to see what life has in store for me in the future. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my story. Hello, my name is Kelsey. I'm a 36-year-old woman. I have been through a lot in my life, and today I want to tell you about my entitled sister-in-law and how I put her in her place. So let me start by telling you about myself and my husband, Andrew. The two of us are college sweethearts. We got married pretty much right after we graduated. We worked hard and tried our best to live comfortably, but then disaster struck. One day while I was at work, we ended up getting robbed and held hostage for a total of 12 hours. Needless to say, that experience left me traumatized for a long time. After that, I could not bring myself to walk into an office and work. So Andrew and I decided it would be best for me to stay at home. Andrew made enough to support us, and we were both happy with that. Enter my sister-in-law, Madison. Madison moved to our city because she wanted to go to the same college that we went to. She's a good 10 years younger than us, and we considered her to be a child to us more than a sibling. Anyway, we tried our best to be there for her when she moved, but she seemed to be getting along fine in university, and she never really seemed to want to spend much time with us. We understood that. When we were in college, all we wanted to do was spend time with our friends and have fun. We never pushed her to meet with us or anything. We would only call her every week to make sure that she was doing fine. That was how it was for most of her college life, and it was all going smoothly until one day Madison came over unannounced. I opened the door to her sobbing and barely being able to breathe. Obviously, I was alarmed and I invited her in. "Oh my gosh, Madison, what happened? Why are you crying? Come in. I'm so sorry for showing up unannounced." "Nonsense. Don't apologize. We're family. Here, drink some water, and when you calm down, why don't you tell me what's wrong?" "Thank you so much for this. I just got dumped." "Oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry that you're going through this." "I'm not even as sad about the fact that I got dumped as I am about the reason that I got dumped." "If you don't mind me asking, why did he dump you?" "Well, I'm pregnant, and he didn't like that, so he just left me." Oh my God, you're pregnant? Yeah, and I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm still in college and I can't support a child. I don't know if it's my place to say this, but did you consider maybe giving the child up for adoption? There's no way that's happening. Sweetie, I understand that you're going through a lot right now, but wouldn't it be the right thing to do? I'm going to be doing all the hard work of carrying this baby, and my body is going to be the thing that suffers for it. There's no way that I'm going to give up the child after I went through all of that. Okay, well, what do you suppose you want to do then? I don't know. I really don't know. We can put this on hold for now. How about we make you feel better first? How do you feel about ice cream and movies? That sounds amazing right now. Thank you for being there for me, Kelsey. Of course. You're practically my sister too. If I was being honest, I was panicking for Madison. I mean, she was so young and didn't have any financial security to have the child, and her stubbornness to keep the child was even more alarming. While we were watching our movies, I got a little more information out of Madison. Andrew and I knew that she had been dating someone, but we never pushed her to tell us more. He refused to talk to her when he found out that she was pregnant with his child. And all of that happened nearly 3 months ago. The only reason she came to our place was because she knew she needed to go to the doctor for appointments, but couldn't bring herself to do it all alone. My heart did go out to her. Madison left for her dorm a few hours later, and when Andrew came back home from work, I told him about what had happened earlier. So Madison came over earlier today. Really? Is she okay? Not really. She showed up crying. Oh no, what happened? Remember how she was dating this guy? He dumped her. Oh, poor thing. I get it. Getting dumped is a heartbreaking thing. But why did he break up with her? Because she's pregnant. What? Why didn't you lead with that? I don't know. I was kind of worried about how you'd react. Of course I'm going to be shocked and upset. I thought Madison would at least be a little careful. She's old enough to know how to go about doing things. I fully agree. I understand you feeling upset with Madison's choices, and your feelings are valid, but getting upset will not change what's happening. So what do you suggest we do? She will have nowhere to go. I mean, my parents will not help her out because they told her that they were not going to help her if she got pregnant. And we don't have the funds to help her out. I was thinking maybe I should pick up a job. Nothing too stressful for my mind, of course. Are you sure? I don't want you to strain yourself and for you to get hurt in the process. Of course. Besides, she's my family too, and I want to be able to help her out. I do too, but I don't want to do it at your expense. Are you absolutely sure that you want to do this? Because letting her move in means we'll also have to help take care of the baby. Darling, I'm 100% sure about this. I'll start looking into some more domestic jobs. We can continue to live on your pay and we can help Madison with my pay. That sounds like a good plan. Thank you so much for helping Madison out. What is with the two of you thanking me? Come on. Wouldn't you do the same for me? Of course, darling. Now, why don't we forget about this for a moment and watch a good movie? I was glad that Andrew took the news better than I expected him to. I knew that even though he and Madison didn't have the closest relationship, he was still protective of her, considering she was his babysitter. But I knew that I was going to do my best to find the best kind of job I could that would not trigger my PTSD in any way. After scouring the internet and asking around a little, I found out that just a few blocks away there was a whole line of rich neighborhoods. And most of them were looking for housemaids, and they were willing to pay pretty decently for them. Of course, I applied immediately because I felt like it was the best job that I could get, and for me to work. After applying around, I decided that I needed to tell Madison what was happening and how we planned to help her out. So I called her and asked her to come over. When she arrived, she looked nervous, but I greeted her as warmly as I could. Madison, come in. Hey, Kelsey, what's going on? Why'd you call me over? I just wanted to check in on you, and I wanted to talk to you about something. Well, I'm still very sad, but I guess I'm coping. I wish I could help you feel less sad about the breakup, sweetie, but I am glad to hear that you're getting by. And what about the pregnancy? Are you eating well? I have no appetite, but I'm eating just for the baby. I still don't know how I'm going to survive when the baby comes. Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I spoke to Andrew about your situation. Oh no, is he disappointed with me? Is he upset or angry? He's a little disappointed in you, but he's not angry or upset. He's just very worried about you, which is why we want to help you out in any way that we can. Oh, what do you mean? Well, for starters, we would like you to move in with us. That way we can help take care of you and the baby when it comes, and it will also provide you with a place to live so you don't have to struggle financially with that. Seriously? But aren't you guys struggling financially too? Will you be able to help me out? Don't you worry about that. I've looked into it and I can work as a housekeeper. A housekeeper? There are a lot of rich people in this neighborhood who need housekeepers, and they pay decently. With that extra cash, I can help you out. Would you really do that for me? Of course I would. I told you. You're my sister too, and it's my duty to make sure that you're safe and doing well. I cannot even begin to tell you how much this means to me. Thank you so much. Hush now. Let's plan when you want to move in, shall we? Madison was a grateful mess. She wouldn't stop thanking me over and over again. And at some point, I had to beg her to just accept the help that she was getting, and Andrew and I helped Kelsey move into our place. Of course, Andrew did talk to her about his disappointment in her, but he did tell her that he was still proud of her for coming to us instead of dealing with everything on her own. Together, Andrew and I made sure that Madison had the healthiest pregnancy she could have. We made sure to take her to all of her doctor's appointments and made sure she ate all the food that was good for the baby's development. As for my work, I managed to land a few houses to take care of. I don't know why I didn't think of it on my own. I mean, I love keeping my house clean, and not to toot my own horn or anything, but I'm pretty good at it. I love organizing things and making my house look pretty, and if I could earn money for it, what a great job. Madison did express a lot of the times that she was sorry that I was working just to provide for her, but I told her that I only wanted her to be healthy and to have a healthy baby, so I was going to do whatever I could to make that come true. And it did. Just 6 months after Madison moved in with us, she gave birth to a healthy baby boy, Corey. Madison stayed with us for a little over a year after that. Andrew and I had a lot of fun taking care of Corey, and in a way made us feel good about momentarily being able to be parents. We never wanted to have kids, especially given our financial situation, but for a short moment, taking care of Corey was fun. After Madison graduated, my in-laws helped her out by getting her an apartment of her own. So she and Corey moved out after that. Andrew and I didn't hear much from Madison after that. We barely ever saw her. She was always busy with something or the other. At first, Andrew and I were pretty upset about it. But as the years passed, eventually, we got used to it. We were both doing great financially and we were living well. We knew we did the right thing and that was enough for us. But then, almost 4 years after Madison left our home, she came over one day unannounced. Andrew and I ecstatically welcomed her in. When we were all seated in the living room, I started the conversation by asking her how she and Corey were doing. "So, how's everything going? I hope you and Corey are doing well now." "We're doing amazing, actually. I'm sorry I haven't been in too much contact with you guys. Life's been really busy recently." "We get that. We're just happy that you look and feel happier." "How's life treating you guys?" "Pretty good. I mean, I got a promotion at work and Kelsey got herself a stable job." "You got a stable job, Kelsey? Does that mean you left housekeeping?" No. I now properly work for only one family. It's stable because I no longer have to run around to different houses each week and remember a ton of different rules to follow." "Ah, that's good. So what exactly have you been up to that's kept you so busy?" "Well, I found someone." "Really? When? And what's his name?" "His name is Bruno. I think we met only a few months after I left your place. Anyway, we've been together since then and he's been my rock. Not to mention Corey absolutely adores him." "That's sweet. So when do we get to meet this mystery man of yours?" "In 2 weeks." "That's a little specific. Is there something happening in 2 weeks?" "Yes, my wedding." "What? You're getting married? Congratulations." "Yes, I am, and I wanted to invite you guys first." "Oh, honey, that's wonderful. Of course we'll be there." "Great. Just so you know, it's going to be a black tie event, so dress like you have money." "What's that supposed to mean?" "I don't want to seem insensitive or anything, but you guys don't really have a lot of money, and Bruno and I kind of want to make the wedding into a fancy event. All of our rich friends will be attending, and we had to save up quite a bit for this." "Huh, okay, well, that was definitely a very insensitive thing to say, especially since your no money having brother and his wife helped you pay your bills for a year." "Oh, come on, don't take offense to that. You'll understand why I said that when you come to the wedding." "How can I not take offense to that? You've stayed out of touch with us for years. Came back out of the blue to tell us that you're getting married and then you insult us?" "Sweetie, calm down." "No. Madison needs to learn to be a little grateful for all your hard work that let her get to this stage in her life." "Okay, you're being really dramatic and I don't want to be here for it. I'll email you the invite to the wedding. You have until tomorrow to RSVP. Bye." Andrew and I just stared at Madison as she walked out in shock. I couldn't believe how entitled she had become. I was honestly so hurt by her words. I mean, I only picked up a job so I could help her out, and to see her turn around and treat me like I was some low life made me want to cry. Andrew did reach out to her again, and she did not reply. Andrew was seething with anger and did not want to go to her wedding, but I convinced him that we should go. I mean, I was hurt, but I was not going to let that come in between my family. Madison was still Andrew's sister, and he shouldn't have to give up such a huge event in her life because I got hurt. The wedding was a small ceremony that only Madison and Bruno's closest friends and family attended. That made me even more glad that we had gone, because at least it showed me that Madison had some respect left for what we did for her. Bruno was a handsome, charming man, and Andrew and I instantly liked him. We found out that he was a marketing manager for an up-and-coming firm, and he was doing pretty well. That did make me question if that was why Madison became so elitist. I mean, she probably got used to living a lot more comfortably with Bruno. That didn't excuse any of her comments, but it did give me a reason. Anyway, a few months after the wedding, the family that I had been working for decided to move to another state. I was heartbroken because they had become pretty close to my heart, and I had spent quite a lot of time with them. As a going-away present, they offered to let me buy their huge mansion of a house for practically nothing. Yes, they were that rich. Of course, Andrew and I took them up on that offer, and within a few months, I was the owner of that house. Now, I didn't want to move from the house that we were currently living in because I was too attached to the memories that I had in it. So I decided that I would put the house up for rent. And if that didn't work, I could try turning it into an Airbnb. Well, just a few days after I put the house up for rent, I got contacted by someone. After a few conversations, I quickly realized that I was talking to Bruno, Madison's husband. Of course, I was curious as to why they were renting a house, but I kept my questions to myself, and instead, as a favor to the family, I offered to rent it to him for dirt cheap. He accepted that offer, not without thanking me profusely, and within the next month, Bruno, Madison, and Corey had moved in. Andrew and I decided that we'd give them another month to settle in before swinging by to meet them. I let Bruno know before we went there, but he must not have told Madison about our visit. When we got there, Bruno greeted us warmly. "Oh, hey guys, come in." "Hi, Bruno. I hope you guys are settling in well." "Absolutely. Madison and Corey are settling in well, and they love the new home." "That's good to hear, but where are they?" "Madison just got done giving Corey a bath. She should be down any minute." "Oh, there she is." "Whoa, what are you doing here, Kelsey?" "Oh, I just dropped in to see how you guys were doing. I hope you're enjoying the new place." "Of course I am, but you're kind of ruining it for me." "Excuse me?" "I don't know if you can see very well, but this house is stunning and only meant for those people who can afford to be here." "What are you trying to say?" "What I'm trying to say is filthy maids are not allowed in my house." "Madison, you can't speak to Kelsey that way. How dare you talk to Kelsey that way when she was the one who helped you out when you were at your lowest?" "Of course, she had to help me, and don't the poor have to serve the rich?" "What? Do you realize how insane you sound? You were the poor one. Kelsey's hard work helped you find your feet and eventually get here." "Madison, you're being disgusting right now. You need to apologize to Kelsey right now, or you're going to regret it." "Look, you guys can get all worked up about this, but I'm not apologizing. I know that I'm right, and there's nothing that you can say that will change my mind." "Kelsey, I'm so sorry for her behavior. Please don't let this affect us." "It's all good, Bruno." "Whoa, Bruno, why are you apologizing to her for me? I specifically told you that I didn't want to apologize, and what effect do you think she's going to have on us? She's just a disgusting maid." "You need to shut up right now, Madison. You don't know what you're talking about." "Why are you defending this low-class woman over me? It's my eyes that are suffering from seeing her in my home." "Oh, you mean the home that's hers?" "Huh? What do you mean?" "She owns this house. She's the one we're renting this from." "What? I didn't know that. Why would you rent this from her?" "Why not? You begged me to buy a house, something that I couldn't afford to do, so we settled on renting one instead. I saw Kelsey's house up for rent, and I approached her about it. She was willing to rent it to us way below the market rate, so of course I took her up on that offer. She did that out of generosity, and you had no problem crapping all over that." "You know what? I think it's best that Andrew and I leave right now."
I'm so sorry once again, Kelsey. It's all right, Bruno. I'm sorry that you have to live with such a snob. I was fuming with rage, and I was also feeling very humiliated. I knew that Madison thought lowly of me, but to hear her openly insult me that way to my face, I was beyond angry. I walked out of the house and Andrew followed suit. After we got back home, Bruno called me to apologize for Madison's behavior, and I told him that I didn't want any apologies from him. I only wanted them from Madison, but of course, she was never going to do that. 2 days after the whole thing, Bruno called me again, but I had been in the shower, so Andrew picked up the call. Apparently, Bruno had been trying to get Madison to see why what she said was wrong, but she refused to budge. He was apparently so disgusted with her attitude and poor treatment of me that he decided that he wanted to leave her. I was shocked to learn that he was leaving her. I didn't expect something so drastic to come out of this, but his choosing to divorce her made something in me flip as well. Bruno told us that he'd be moving out of the house by the end of the week and asked us to keep the rent for that month. I was furious that he was the one who was leaving and not Madison. So I decided to take that matter into my own hands. After a little bit of questioning, Bruno told us that Madison was not working any job at all. They had all been living off of Bruno's pay. That made a lot of sense. So I contacted a good lawyer and had an eviction notice for 30 days written up. I was going to wait until Bruno left to hand the notice to Madison, but she showed up at our house before that. Andrew had opened the door to her, and he was not very nice when he saw her. "What do you want, Madison?" "You lied to me. You never told me that you guys got rich." "I don't see why we needed to tell you that we were rich." "You couldn't have shared your success with me." "Why would I, when all you saw me as was a filthy maid?" "Do you even know how embarrassing that was for me?" "Because someone from a low-class family is doing better than you, or helping you out?" "Enough. How was I supposed to know that you were not low class? Should that really factor into how you treat people?" "Of course, I don't want to be taken advantage of at any point in my life, now that I'm successful." "So, when you were pregnant and alone and I stepped up to help you, you're saying that I shouldn't have because you were only taking advantage of me?" "No, of course not. I was one of the better low-class people." "And we're not?" "You're fine, but Kelsey isn't. I mean, she was working for all those rich people, and of course, she would have had to be disgusting to get to where she is right now. I just know that she must have blackmailed someone or something to be able to own such a luxurious house." "I don't know what happened to you to make you so horrible, but I highly suggest that you take some time to reflect on your behavior. And Andrew and I have discussed it, and we don't want you living in that house." "You can't do that." "I'm pretty sure I can. I own the house, so I can do whatever I want with it." "But Bruno, Corey, and I will have nowhere to go." "Oh, the last time I spoke to Bruno, he was planning on leaving you. As for Corey, I'm sure that the state will intervene and make sure that he gets into a more stable home since you have no job or a place to stay." "What? You can't do any of that. You've ruined my life." "Maybe next time be kinder. I did my absolute best to give you the best life possible so you could flourish into a more stable adult. And you threw it all in my face and insulted all my hard work. People like you don't deserve any sympathy or kindness. Here's your eviction notice. You have 30 days to leave, and then I don't want to see you ever again. Goodbye." I don't know what kind of delusions lived in Madison's brain, because hearing her say all those things genuinely baffled me. How could someone be so dense and unaware of what they were saying? I will admit that a huge part of me felt really bad that I was punishing Madison this way, but I also knew that I could not allow her to disrespect me that way. If I had let that go, she would have probably found more ways to walk all over me again. Only I knew how hard I had to work to provide for her and get to where I am today, and she had no right to dump all over it. After that, things only went downhill for Madison. I only knew about what was happening with her because she would keep texting me about it to blame me for it. Apparently, after she left our place, Bruno served her divorce papers. Bruno later on told us that Madison began to scream and cry and beg him not to leave her, but he was having none of it. Of course, Madison had refused to work after I had helped her out. She had simply latched herself onto someone else, so she had not much to her name, which meant that she couldn't get herself an apartment no matter how hard she tried. When we hit the 15-day mark, since having served her the eviction notice, Madison called me crying and begged me to let her stay there. But honestly, I did not want to be bitten again. I had been fooled one too many times, and I was not going to allow her to hit me yet another time. I deserved better than that. At the same time, I was not a monster either, so I told her the best that I could do for her was fly her and Corey back home. Madison cussed at me for that and hung up the phone. Of course, Madison knew that if she went home, her parents would rip into her for wasting her life so far, and she did not want to deal with that, apparently. I didn't want her and Corey to be separated, but she was not willing to think logically. I had done all that I could do. Madison had apparently tried to contest the divorce and tried to extort Bruno for alimony. Unfortunately, she did manage to get some alimony from Bruno, but only for a short period of time. As for Corey, Bruno did file for his custody. He loved Corey like he was his own son and had seen how Madison barely cared for him. He provided CPS with all the evidence necessary of Madison's ineligibility to take care of and raise Corey, and eventually Corey was out into Bruno's custody until Madison got back on her feet. Now, that was blow after blow to Madison, and if there's one thing you should know about Madison, it's that she hates being wrong and hates losing. She decided that she wanted nothing more to do with any of us, so she left our city and fled to God knows where. Andrew and I are just happy that we no longer have to deal with her antics. We still keep in touch with Bruno and Corey, and we've all become even closer now. I offered to let them live in my other house again, but Bruno insisted that we move to the other house while they moved into the house that we had been living in. So that was what we did. I finally get to enjoy the fruits of my labor, and I get to enjoy a wonderful time with my family. Life just couldn't get any sweeter.